Figured I'd tell you guys a quick story here, and some guys don't like my stories. And there's a button that says stop, and if you don't want to listen to the story, don't have to. So, anyway, I'm going to tell you the story of the time that I was going 105. Well, my speedometer was about right, almost back to zero. So it was about right here, right here. So you tell me how fast that is. I don't know. It was about right there, and I'm going to tell you how I did that and how that I actually outsmarted the cops and didn't get a ticket. So anyway, it's an interesting story. I was driving down the 91 freeway. In fact, I used to live in Santa Ana. I was a painter at a body shop, and I used to drive back and forth on the weekends because I could do my side work at my parents' house in Riverside. So there was always traffic, so I hated the traffic. So I would leave at about 11 o'clock at night when there was nobody on the road from Santa Ana to Riverside. So typically I was going, the speed limit back then was 55, and the cops in California were not allowed to use radar. They had a law that said that cops could not use radar, which has changed since then. So, and I knew about that, and so when I would drive home, I had a wink mirror in my Bug, one of those mirrors that was in the Porsches that went all the way across and had little mirrors all the way along. If you want to look up what a wink mirror is, if you don't know. And I could see out of every window in my car, you know, a panoramic view almost of everything that's going on around me, and I was really good at watching what was going on around me. So, you know, typically my average speed on the way home was 70 or 80 miles an hour. And okay, I always tell people, you know, most of the time VWs, they run hot when you go that fast. And yes, it did run hot. I had an 1835 with thin wall cylinders, and I was running ported heads, 2-barrel, high compression, and I always had my deck lid on the bumper. So that's how it ran cool enough, and it didn't run that cool because it was always super hot. But I was running also, again, the pistons I was running were MPR, which they don't have anymore, and they were forged. So it could run hot and it wouldn't toast the motor up, like, you know, wouldn't seize up as easily as the stuff you have today. So that's why I tell people about the slower speeds and stuff like that. And the camshaft curve would allow it to run at a higher RPM on the freeway. So I literally was, I don't know what the RPMs were, probably 6,000 RPMs at that speed or something like that, which is pretty much about as much revved up as that motor could go. But anyway, at 80 miles an hour, yeah, I was my cruising speed all the way home. And so, you know, I was always looking for cops. So one time I was driving and I come up on Green River Drive. If you know where anything about that, you can look it up on the Google Earth if you want. It's coming up on Green River Drive, heading from Orange County, and I see on the overpass, I see a car going across really slow, and he stops, and I go, I bet you that's a cop up there on the top of the overpass. And I said, well, I got two choices. I can either slow down, but I really want to get home, or I can speed up. So I chose the second option. I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and speed up and see if I can get far enough away from him that he gives up. So anyway, so I opened the thing up. So I head on down, and within a couple of minutes, my speedometer's way over here, right? So I'm going about 100, 105, I don't know, somewhere in there. It depends on the tire sizes I had. Were like 145, so there was a little bit off. Speedometer was maybe 5 miles an hour off or so. So anyway, I'm just blazing down the road. I mean, just there's nobody else on the road hardly, only a few cars, and I'm passing all of them. and I'm in my bug just hauling ass. And right then all of a sudden I'm looking in the mirror, constantly looking around. I look in the mirror and there's no exits right in there. So I know what's going on. And I look in the mirror and I see this car behind me just go between the lanes. I go, oh, that must be that cop. He's coming up on me. He's about 2 miles back. So I slowed right down. I let off the gas, got down to 60 miles an hour, between 55 and 60, and just held it there and just started cruising. And then I'm just cruising it at 60, 60 miles an hour, right around there. And all of a sudden I see this cop car come up right up next to me. Like this. He just comes right up and he just stands on the brakes and slows down and just sitting there right next to me. And it had 2 cops in the car, and the passenger cop looks over at me with this stern look on his face, like, God damn you. I couldn't even get a lock on you. And the passenger looks at me with a stern look on his face, like, you little fucker. And then I see the driver of the cop car moves his head forward, and then I see him look at me with a stern look on his face. Then I hear him pick up the microphone and he goes, keep it at 60. Then he takes off and gets off at the next exit. He could not bust me because he could not lock me, because he has to. Back then you had to follow somebody for a period of time and lock their speed, and then that's how they could write you a ticket. They couldn't use radar. But he knew I was going really fast. So anyway, that's the story of the 105 mile an hour Volkswagen. And like I said, some of you guys don't want to hear the story. Some of you guys love this shit. So I just put them up there. And if you like it, you like it. The reason I'm sitting in this car is this kind of reminds me of that car. It had a lot of the things that were in this car. Except for it didn't have one of these. So it didn't have a rag top, but it was a hardtop Bug 62. And I still have that motor. So one of these days I'm going to take that apart and just play around with it and see what to do with it. I don't know. But I kept that motor because I don't know why I did. I just kept it. So anyway, I'll talk to you on the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.